What if the key to thriving in chaos lies in ancient wisdom? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." These words, spoken centuries ago, still ring true today. In a world that often feels unpredictable and overwhelming, Stoicism offers a timeless framework for navigating life's challenges with resilience, presence, and control. It's not about suppressing emotions or avoiding hardship, it's about mastering how you respond to them. In this video, we'll explore 46 Stoic rules, each designed to empower you against adversity. These principles aren't just philosophical musings, they're actionable insights you can apply to your daily life. Whether you're facing personal struggles, professional setbacks, or the chaos of the world around you, Stoicism provides tools to help you stay grounded, focused, and unshaken. By the end of this journey, you'll discover how to cultivate inner strength, embrace uncertainty, and transform obstacles into opportunities. So let's dive in, because the wisdom of the Stoics isn't just for ancient philosophers, it's for anyone ready to thrive against all odds. The foundation of Stoicism lies in a simple yet profound truth. You must distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot. Epictetus, a former slave turned Stoic philosopher, put it plainly when he said, "Some things are in our control and others are not." This principle, known as the dichotomy of control, is the bedrock of Stoic practice. It's not about ignoring the chaos of the world or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing where your power truly lies. Think about it this way: you can't control the weather, the actions of others, or even the outcome of every situation, but you can control how you respond. Your thoughts, your choices, and your actions, these are your domains. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can't make the cars move faster, but you can choose whether to let frustration consume you or use the time to listen to a podcast, reflect on your day, or simply breathe. That shift in focus from the uncontrollable to the controllable is where Stoic power begins. Consider a modern scenario: stress at work. Deadlines, demanding clients, or unexpected challenges are often beyond your influence. But how you prepare, how you manage your time, and how you maintain your composure, those are entirely up to you. Stoicism teaches us to invest our energy where it matters most, freeing us from the exhausting cycle of trying to change what we cannot. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you spending energy on things outside your control? What might shift if you redirected that effort toward what you can influence? This first rule isn't just a philosophy, it's a practical tool for reclaiming your peace and power, one small decision at a time. What if every challenge was a chance to grow? This is the heart of the Stoic principle of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate. It's the idea that every obstacle, every setback, and every hardship is an opportunity in disguise. Instead of resisting what life throws at us, Stoicism teaches us to embrace it, to find meaning in it, and to use it as fuel for growth. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." In other words, just as physical exercise builds muscle, facing challenges builds resilience and wisdom. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As Roman emperor, he faced wars, political turmoil, and personal loss. Yet he didn't see these struggles as mere burdens. In his personal writings, later known as Meditations, he often reflected on how adversity shaped him. He viewed each crisis as a teacher, a chance to refine his character and deepen his understanding of life. Rather than lamenting his circumstances, he chose to see them as opportunities to practice virtue and lead with integrity. His ability to reframe obstacles wasn't just philosophical, it was practical. It allowed him to lead an empire through some of its most turbulent times. Now think about your own life. When you encounter a challenge, whether it's a failed project, a strained relationship, or an unexpected setback, how do you respond? It's easy to feel defeated or frustrated, but what if you shifted your perspective? What if you saw that obstacle as a chance to learn, to adapt, and to become stronger? This doesn't mean you have to enjoy every hardship, but it does mean you can choose to find value in it. Maybe a difficult conversation helps you improve your communication skills. Maybe a professional setback pushes you to explore new opportunities. Maybe a personal loss deepens your empathy and gratitude. The key lies in reframing. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What can I learn from this? How can this make me better?" This shift doesn't erase the difficulty, but it transforms how you engage with it. It turns struggle into strength, frustration into focus, and chaos into clarity. So, the next time life throws you a curveball, remember, obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. They're invitations to grow, to adapt, and to thrive, and that's the power of Amor, Fati. It's not just about accepting your fate, it's about loving it, because every challenge is an opportunity to become the best version of yourself. The unexamined life is not worth living. Stoics knew this well. For them, reflection wasn't just a habit, it was a cornerstone of living with intention and purpose. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, began his mornings with a simple yet profound thought. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. This wasn't just poetic musing, it was a deliberate practice to ground himself in gratitude and clarity before the day began. The Stoics believed that without reflection, we risk drifting through life on autopilot, reacting to circumstances rather than shaping them with intention. Daily reflection, whether through journaling or meditative thought, is a tool for self-awareness. It allows us to pause, assess our actions, and ensure they align with our values. Think of it as a daily audit of your mind, a chance to ask yourself, did I act with integrity today? Did I respond to challenges with patience and wisdom? Did I appreciate the moments of joy, however small? By regularly examining our choices, we create a feedback loop that helps us grow and stay true to our principles. Consider this practical application, a nightly gratitude practice. Before bed, take just a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be something as simple as a kind word from a friend, a moment of quiet, or progress on a personal goal. This practice not only shifts your focus to the positive, but also helps you end the day with a sense of fulfillment. Over time, this habit can rewire your mindset, making you more attuned to the good in your life, even amidst difficulties. But reflection doesn't have to be limited to gratitude. You might also reflect on lessons learned from the day's challenges. Ask yourself, what did I handle well? Where could I improve? This isn't about self-criticism, it's about growth. By identifying areas for improvement, you're better equipped to face similar situations in the future with greater resilience and wisdom. Incorporating daily reflection into your routine doesn't require hours of solitude or elaborate rituals. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of quiet thought while sipping your morning coffee or jotting down a few lines in a notebook before bed. The key is consistency. Like any skill, reflection becomes more powerful with practice. Over time, you'll find that this small act of introspection helps you live with greater clarity, purpose, and alignment with your values. So, how can you start? Begin by carving out a small window of time each day, whether it's morning or evening, and use it to reflect. Ask yourself what went well, what challenged you, and what you're grateful for. As you make this a habit, you'll likely notice a shift in how you approach life's ups and downs. Reflection isn't just about looking back, it's about moving forward with greater awareness and intention. And that's the Stoic way to live a life worth examining. Resilience is not inherited, it's built. This is one of Stoicism's most empowering truths. The Stoics didn't believe resilience was a trait reserved for a lucky few. They saw it as a skill, something anyone could develop through practice and discipline. Epictetus, a philosopher who endured slavery before gaining his freedom, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea underscores the Stoic approach to life. Hardship is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's your response that determines whether an experience breaks you or builds you. Think about a personal setback you faced, perhaps a job loss, a failed relationship, or a health challenge. In the moment, it might have felt overwhelming, even insurmountable. But with time, you likely discovered strengths you didn't know you had. Maybe you learned to adapt, to find new opportunities, or to lean on your support system. These are all forms of resilience, and Stoicism teaches us that they are within reach for everyone. The key lies in shifting your mindset. Instead of seeing adversity as a threat, view it as a test of your character, a chance to prove to yourself just how strong you really are. Consider a modern example. Imagine a professional athlete who suffers a career-ending injury. At first, the loss might feel devastating, but with a Stoic mindset, that athlete could reframe the situation. Instead of dwelling on what's been taken away, they might focus on what remains: their ability to mentor others, to explore new passions, or to rebuild their life in a different direction. This doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it into something meaningful. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about finding the strength to move forward, even when the path feels uncertain. So, how can you cultivate this kind of resilience in your own life? Start by identifying areas where you feel vulnerable or overwhelmed. Are there situations where you tend to react with fear, frustration, or defeat? These are your opportunities for growth. Next, practice reframing. When a challenge arises, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Over time, this shift in perspective becomes second nature, and you'll find yourself facing life's difficulties with greater calm and confidence. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about enduring it with grace and emerging stronger on the other side. And that's the Stoic way. By embracing challenges as opportunities to grow, you're not just surviving life's storms, you're thriving in them. So, the next time you face a setback, remember, resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, one challenge at a time. How often do you find yourself stuck replaying past mistakes or anxiously anticipating what's to come? The Stoics understood this struggle well. They believed that true peace and power come from living fully in the present moment. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it bluntly, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In other words, much of our pain isn't caused by what's actually happening. It's fueled by our endless mental loops of regret and worry. The past is gone and the future is uncertain. The only moment we truly have is now. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the lessons of the past or neglecting to plan for the future. It's about not letting those thoughts dominate your mind to the point where they rob you of the present. Think of it this way. If you're constantly replaying an argument from last week or stressing over a deadline next month, you're not truly living. You're trapped in a mental time machine, shuttling between moments that either no longer exist or haven't yet arrived. Stoicism invites us to step out of that cycle and anchor ourselves in the here and now. One practical way to do this is through grounding techniques. For example, when you notice your mind racing, pause and focus on your senses. What can you see, hear, touch, taste, or smell in this exact moment? This simple act of awareness pulls you back into the present, breaking the grip of anxiety or regret. It's not about ignoring your thoughts, it's about choosing where to place your attention. The Stoics called this discipline of attention, and it's a skill anyone can develop with practice. Consider this: when you're fully present, you're better equipped to handle whatever life throws at you. You're more attentive in conversations, more creative in problem solving, and more appreciative of the small joys that often go unnoticed. Presence isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical tool for living a richer, more fulfilling life. So, how can you start practicing this Stoic principle today? Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you most often pulled away from the present? Is it during work, in conversations, or when you're alone with your thoughts? Once you identify those moments, try a grounding technique. Notice the details around you, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that this moment is all you truly have. Over time, you'll find that living in the present isn't just a Stoic ideal, it's a way to reclaim your peace and power, one breath at a time. Stoicism teaches us to focus on effort, not results. This simple yet powerful idea is at the heart of Rule 6, detach from external outcomes. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." What he's pointing to here is the importance of where we place our attention. While we can't always control what happens in the world around us, we can control how we think, how we prepare, and how we act. And it's in these things, our effort, our intention, our commitment, that our true worth lies. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. You've done everything you can, researched the company, practiced your responses, and polished your resume. But the outcome, whether you get the job, isn't entirely up to you. The interviewer's preferences, the competition, even the timing of the hiring process are all variables outside your control. If you tie your sense of success or self-worth to the result, you're setting yourself up for unnecessary stress and disappointment. But if you focus on what you can do, your preparation, your attitude, your effort, you reclaim your power. You've already succeeded because you've shown up fully and given it your best. The rest is out of your hands. This principle applies to so much of life. Think about relationships, creative projects, or even personal goals. We often fixate on the end result, whether someone likes us, whether our work is praised, whether we achieve a specific milestone. But Stoicism reminds us that these outcomes are fleeting and often beyond our influence. What truly matters is the quality of our effort, the integrity of our actions, and the mindset we bring to the table. When we shift our focus from results to effort, we free ourselves from the weight of external validation. We stop chasing approval and start living with purpose. So, how can you put this into practice? Start by identifying areas of your life where you're overly attached to outcomes. Maybe it's a project at work, a fitness goal, or even a personal relationship. Ask yourself, am I focusing on what I can control, or am I obsessing over what I can't? Then, make a conscious effort to redirect your energy. Celebrate the effort you put in, regardless of the result. Over time, this shift in focus can transform how you approach challenges, reducing anxiety and increasing your sense of fulfillment. Detaching from outcomes doesn't mean you stop caring about results. It means you stop letting them define you. It's about finding peace in the process, knowing that your value isn't tied to external validation, but to the quality of your thoughts, your actions, and your effort. And that's the Stoic way to live, not chasing after what you can't control, but fully embracing what you can. Why would anyone choose discomfort? At first glance, it seems counterintuitive. After all, isn't the goal of life to seek ease and happiness? But the Stoics had a different perspective. They believed that deliberately exposing ourselves to hardship was one of the most effective ways to build resilience, cultivate gratitude, and prepare for life's inevitable challenges. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential voices, encouraged this practice, advising, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare." This wasn't about punishing oneself, it was about reminding ourselves that we're capable of enduring far more than we think. Think of it as a mental and emotional workout. Just as lifting weights strengthens your muscles, embracing discomfort strengthens your character. When you voluntarily step into situations that test your limits, whether it's skipping a meal, taking a cold shower, or spending a day without technology, you're training your mind to handle adversity with calm and clarity. Over time, these small acts of self-discipline build a reservoir of inner strength that you can draw from when life gets tough. In today's world, this principle might look like fasting for a day to appreciate the abundance of food we often take for granted. Or it could mean turning off your phone for a few hours to reconnect with the present moment and reduce dependency on constant stimulation. Even something as simple as waking up an hour earlier than usual can be a form of voluntary discomfort, teaching you to master your impulses and prioritize what truly matters. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. You don't need grand gestures or extreme measures, just a willingness to step outside your comfort zone in small, intentional ways. By doing so, you not only build resilience but also cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude. When you experience scarcity, even briefly, you gain a newfound appreciation for the comforts and privileges you typically enjoy without a second thought. So, how can you start incorporating voluntary discomfort into your life? Begin by identifying areas where you rely heavily on convenience or comfort. Do you always reach for your phone when you're bored? Do you shy away from physical challenges or avoid difficult conversations? Choose one area and challenge yourself to step into the discomfort, even just for a short time. Notice how it feels not just in the moment but afterward, when you realize you're stronger and more capable than you thought. Voluntary discomfort isn't about seeking pain for its own sake. It's about proving to yourself that you can thrive even when conditions aren't ideal. It's about building the mental toughness to face life's uncertainties with confidence and grace. And perhaps most importantly, it's about learning to appreciate the simple joys of life that often go unnoticed when we're too comfortable. So, the next time you're tempted to avoid discomfort, remember, it's not an obstacle, it's an opportunity to grow. And that's the Stoic way to turn hardship into strength. What if everything you love is temporary? It's a question that might feel uncomfortable to sit with, but it's one the Stoics ask themselves regularly. They called this practice Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember that you must die. At first glance, it might seem morbid, but the Stoics didn't see it as a source of fear or despair. Instead, they viewed it as a powerful reminder to live fully and authentically in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, often reflected on this idea, writing, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. His words weren't meant to scare us, they were meant to wake us up to the fleeting nature of life and the importance of making every moment count. Think about it, when we're faced with the reality that our time is limited, our priorities suddenly come into sharp focus. The petty arguments, the trivial worries, the endless distractions, they all fade into the background. What rises to the surface are the things that truly matter, our relationships, our passions, and the legacy we want to leave behind. Memento Mori isn't about dwelling on death. It's about using the awareness of impermanence to live with greater intention and gratitude. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're spending time with a loved one, a parent, a child, or a close friend. Instead of letting the moment slip by unnoticed, take a second to truly savor it. Notice the sound of their laughter, the warmth of their presence, the little details that make your connection unique. By consciously appreciating these moments, you're not just enjoying them more deeply, you're also preparing yourself to handle their absence with grace whenever that day comes. This doesn't mean living in fear of loss. It means living with a profound appreciation for what you have, right here and right now. So, how can you start embracing impermanence in your own life? Begin by reflecting on what truly matters to you. What relationships, experiences, or goals bring you the most joy and fulfillment? Once you've identified them, make a conscious effort to prioritize them. Spend less time on distractions and more time on the things that align with your values. And when you're with the people you love, be fully present. Put down your phone, listen deeply, and let them know how much they mean to you. These small acts of mindfulness can transform ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. Impermanence doesn't have to be a source of anxiety. When embraced with a Stoic mindset, it becomes a powerful motivator to live with purpose, love deeply, and cherish the beauty of the present. After all, life's fleeting nature is what makes it so precious, and by remembering that, you can find the courage to live boldly, love wholeheartedly, and make every moment count. Stoicism is rooted in living a virtuous life. At its core, this ancient philosophy teaches that true fulfillment comes not from external success or material wealth, but from cultivating inner character. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance as the foundation of a meaningful existence. These virtues aren't relics of the past. They're timeless principles that can guide us in navigating the complexities of modern life. Let's break them down. Wisdom is about seeing the world clearly, making thoughtful decisions, and learning from experience. Courage isn't just physical bravery, it's the strength to face challenges, stand up for what's right, and stay true to your values even when it's uncomfortable. Justice calls us to act with fairness, kindness, and respect toward others, recognizing our shared humanity. And temperance is the practice of self-control, balancing our desires and impulses to live with harmony and moderation. Together, these virtues form a compass for ethical living, helping us align our actions with what truly matters. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who emphasized the importance of action, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound advice reminds us that virtue isn't just about ideals, it's about practice. It's not enough to admire wisdom or justice, we must embody them in our daily choices. For instance, imagine witnessing an act of injustice, a co-worker being unfairly treated or a stranger being bullied. Acting with virtue means stepping in, even when it's easier to stay silent. It's about doing what's right, not what's convenient, but living virtuously doesn't always require grand gestures. It can be as simple as choosing honesty over deceit, patience over frustration, or generosity over selfishness. Each small act of virtue builds on the last, shaping not only our character but also the world around us. Think about your own life. Where can you practice these virtues more intentionally? Perhaps it's in how you handle disagreements, the way you treat those who can't offer you anything in return, or the discipline you bring to your daily habits. The beauty of Stoic virtue lies in its universality. It's not tied to any specific belief system, culture, or era. It's a framework for living well, no matter who you are or where you find yourself. By striving to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, you're not just improving your own life, you're contributing to a better world. So, take a moment to reflect. What kind of person do you want to be? And what steps can you take today to align your actions with that vision? Because virtue isn't just a concept, it's a practice, one that begins with you. Why do we cling to things beyond our control? It's a question worth asking because so much of our stress and frustration stems from trying to change what we simply can't. The Stoics had a clear answer: let go, not because they didn't care, but because they understood the futility of fighting against the inevitable. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, captured this idea perfectly when he said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." In other words, it's not the external events themselves that cause us pain, it's our attachment to them, our resistance to what we can't change. Take something as mundane as traffic. You're running late for an important meeting and suddenly the road ahead is a sea of brake lights. You can't control the traffic, the timing of the lights, or the actions of other drivers. But you can control how you respond. Do you let frustration take over, honking and fuming as if your anger might magically clear the road? Or do you take a deep breath, accept the situation, and use the time to listen to a podcast or reflect on your day? The Stoic approach isn't about passive resignation. It's about redirecting your energy toward what you can influence, your own thoughts and actions. This principle applies to far more than traffic jams. Think about a time when you've tried to change someone else's opinion or behavior, only to hit a wall. Maybe it's a colleague who refuses to see your point of view, or a loved one who won't change a habit that bothers you. The harder you push, the more frustrated you feel. But what if, instead of trying to control them, you focused on controlling your own response? What if you chose to let go of the outcome and instead worked on cultivating patience, understanding, or even detachment? This shift doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing external factors to dictate your peace of mind. So, what do you need to let go of? Is it a past mistake you can't stop replaying, a future outcome you're obsessing over, or maybe it's the actions of others that you wish you could change? Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you holding on too tightly to things outside your control? And what might happen if you release that grip, even just a little? Letting go isn't about giving up, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about choosing where to invest your energy so you can focus on what truly matters, your own growth, your own peace, and your own ability to thrive, no matter what life throws your way. Gratitude transforms what we have into enough. It's a simple idea, but one that holds immense power. The Stoics understood this deeply. Instead of chasing after what they didn't have, they focused on appreciating what was already in front of them. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal writings, often began his day with a moment of reflection, reminding himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." This wasn't just a poetic thought, it was a deliberate practice to ground himself in gratitude before the demands of the day took over. Think about it. How often do we overlook the small blessings in our lives because we're fixated on what's missing? We might have a roof over our heads, food on the table, and people who care about us, yet we're still consumed by the desire for more success, more possessions, more validation. Stoicism teaches us to shift that mindset. It's not about settling for less, it's about recognizing the abundance that already exists. When we practice gratitude, we reframe our perspective. What once felt ordinary becomes extraordinary. A warm meal, a kind word, a moment of quiet, these are the things that make life rich, and they're often right in front of us. One practical way to cultivate this mindset is through a daily gratitude practice. It doesn't have to be elaborate. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or life-changing sometimes. The simplest moments hold the most meaning. Maybe it's the way sunlight streams through your window in the morning, the laughter of a loved one, or even the satisfaction of completing a task. Over time, this habit trains your mind to notice and appreciate the good, even amidst challenges. Reflect on this. What are you grateful for right now? Is it the people in your life, the opportunities you've been given, or perhaps the lessons you've learned from past struggles? Gratitude isn't about ignoring difficulties. It's about finding light even in the darkest moments. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we cultivate a sense of contentment that no external circumstance can take away. So, the next time you feel the pull of dissatisfaction or the weight of wanting more, pause. Take a deep breath and bring your attention to the present. What can you appreciate in this moment? Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a practice, a choice we make every day. And when we choose it, we discover that what we have is already enough. That's the Stoic way to live, not with a sense of scarcity, but with an abundance of appreciation for the life we've been given. Your reactions define you more than your circumstances. This is a truth the Stoics understood deeply. While we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Epictetus, a philosopher who endured slavery before becoming one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it bluntly: any person capable of angering you becomes your master. His words aren't just a warning, they're a call to reclaim your power. When you let your emotions dictate your actions, you surrender control. But when you choose your response, you remain the master of your own mind. Think about a time when someone criticized you. Maybe it was a harsh comment from a coworker, an unfair jab from a friend, or even a critique from a stranger online. In the moment, it might have felt like a personal attack, sparking anger, defensiveness, or hurt. But here's the question: did that reaction serve you? Did it help you resolve the situation, or did it only escalate the tension? The Stoics believed that our emotions are like waves. They rise and fall, but we don't have to be swept away by them. Instead, we can choose to stand firm, to respond with clarity and calm rather than reacting impulsively. Consider this scenario: you're presenting a project at work, and a colleague interrupts to point out a flaw in your plan. Your first instinct might be to feel embarrassed or defensive. But what if, instead of reacting with frustration, you paused? What if you acknowledged their feedback, thanked them for their input, and used it as an opportunity to refine your idea? This shift in response doesn't just diffuse the situation, it also demonstrates strength and composure. It shows that you're in control even when faced with criticism. The key lies in mindfulness. Before reacting, take a moment to ask yourself: is this response aligned with my values? Will it help me move forward, or will it only create more conflict? This pause might only last a few seconds, but it's enough to break the cycle of impulsive reactions. Over time, this practice can transform how you handle challenges, turning moments of tension into opportunities for growth. So, how can you start improving your reactions today? Begin by reflecting on a recent situation where your emotions got the better of you. What triggered your response? How could you have handled it differently? Then, the next time you're faced with a similar challenge, pause, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your reactions are your choice, and choose the one that aligns with the person you want to be. Because in the end, it's not the circumstances that define you, it's how you rise to meet them. What if true happiness comes from wisdom, not indulgence? The Stoics posed this question centuries ago, and their answer remains as relevant today as it was in ancient times. They believed that lasting fulfillment doesn't come from chasing fleeting pleasures. It comes from cultivating wisdom, understanding, and virtue. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, captured this idea when he said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." In other words, true strength and contentment are born not from external comforts, but from the clarity and resilience of a well-trained mind. Think about the difference between temporary pleasures and enduring satisfaction. Eating a delicious meal, buying something new, or scrolling through social media might bring a quick hit of dopamine, but that feeling fades almost as quickly as it arrives. On the other hand, learning a new skill, reflecting on a meaningful experience, or acting with integrity creates a deeper, more lasting sense of fulfillment. The Stoics weren't against enjoying life, they simply understood that true happiness isn't found in external things. It's found in the growth of the self, in the pursuit of knowledge, and in the practice of virtue. Take a modern example. Imagine you're faced with a choice between spending your evening binge watching a TV show or reading a book that challenges your thinking. The first option offers immediate comfort and distraction, while the second requires effort and focus. At the moment, the easier choice might seem more appealing. But which one will leave you feeling more fulfilled in the long run? The Stoics would argue that the harder path, the one that demands something of you, is where real growth happens. It's not about denying yourself enjoyment. It's about recognizing that some forms of effort lead to deeper rewards. This principle extends beyond how we spend our time. It's also about how we approach challenges and setbacks. When faced with difficulty, do you seek quick fixes or shortcuts to avoid discomfort? Or do you lean into the struggle, knowing that the lessons learned will make you stronger and wiser? Stoicism teaches us to embrace the latter, to see every challenge as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to refine our character. So, how can you start prioritizing wisdom over pleasure in your own life? Begin by reflecting on your daily choices. Are there areas where you're opting for instant gratification over long-term growth? Maybe it's in how you spend your free time, how you handle stress, or even how you approach relationships. Once you've identified those moments, challenge yourself to make one small change. Choose the book over the show, the difficult conversation over avoidance, or the effortful task over the easy one. Over time, these choices add up, shaping not just your habits but your character. Seeking wisdom isn't about rejecting joy, it's about finding a deeper, more enduring kind of happiness. It's about building a life that's rich in meaning, not just momentary pleasures. And that's the Stoic way to thrive, not by chasing what feels good, but by pursuing what truly matters. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Stoics knew this well. In a world that often equates success with accumulation, more possessions, more achievements, more distractions, the Stoics offered a different perspective. They believed that a meaningful life isn't built on excess but on clarity and focus. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, captured this idea beautifully when he said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life." His words remind us that true contentment doesn't come from what we have, but from how we live. It's about stripping away the unnecessary to make room for what truly matters. Think about your own life for a moment. How much of what you own or pursue is truly essential? How often do you find yourself overwhelmed by the sheer volume of choices, commitments, and clutter? The Stoic practice of simplicity isn't about deprivation or asceticism. It's about intentionality. It's about creating space physically, mentally, and emotionally, so you can focus on the things that bring you fulfillment and align with your values. When you remove the distractions, you're left with what's real, what's meaningful, and what's lasting. One practical way to embrace this principle is through decluttering. Start with your physical environment. Take a look around your home or workspace. What items do you truly use or love? What's been sitting untouched, taking up space without adding value? Clearing out the excess isn't just about creating a tidier space, it's about reclaiming your attention and energy. When your surroundings are uncluttered, your mind feels freer, more focused, and more at peace. It's a small but powerful step toward living with greater intention. But simplicity isn't just about physical possessions. It's also about how you spend your time and energy. Consider your daily schedule. Are you filling your days with activities that align with your priorities, or are you constantly rushing from one obligation to the next, feeling drained but unfulfilled? Simplifying your commitments means saying no to what doesn't serve you, whether it's unnecessary meetings, social obligations, or even digital distractions. It's about creating boundaries so you can invest your time in what truly enriches your life. So, how can you start embracing simplicity today? Take a moment to reflect. What areas of your life feel cluttered or overwhelming? Is it your home, your schedule, your relationships, or even your mindset? Choose one area and take a small step towards simplifying it. Clear out a drawer, cancel a commitment that no longer serves you, or set aside time to unplug from technology. As you do, notice how it feels to let go of the unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. Simplicity isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a philosophy. It's about recognizing that less can be more, that clarity can bring peace, and that focusing on what's essential allows us to live with greater purpose. When you embrace simplicity, you're not just simplifying your life, you're creating space for happiness, growth, and the things that truly matter. And that's the Stoic way to find freedom in less. Self-discipline is the foundation of a Stoic life. It's the bridge between knowing what's right and actually doing it. Stoicism teaches us that mastering our desires and impulses isn't about depriving ourselves. It's about aligning our actions with our values. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, put it plainly: no man is free who is not master of himself. In other words, true freedom isn't found in doing whatever we want. It's found in having the self-control to live with intention and purpose. Think about a simple daily habit like maintaining a healthy routine. It's easy to hit the snooze button, skip a workout, or reach for unhealthy food when no one's watching. But each of these small choices adds up. When you choose the harder path, getting up early, eating mindfully, or sticking to your exercise plan, you're not just building a healthier body, you're strengthening your willpower. Self-discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And over time, these small acts of self-mastery create a ripple effect, influencing every area of your life. But self-discipline isn't just about physical habits, it's also about emotional regulation. Imagine you're in a heated argument. Your instinct might be to lash out, to let anger take the wheel. But self-discipline is what allows you to pause, to breathe, and to respond with calm and clarity instead of reacting impulsively. It's what keeps you aligned with your values even when emotions run high. This kind of discipline doesn't come naturally, it's cultivated through consistent practice. So, where in your life could you strengthen your self-discipline? Maybe it's in how you manage your time, resisting the urge to procrastinate when a project feels overwhelming. Maybe it's in how you handle stress, choosing to meditate or journal instead of numbing out with distractions. Or perhaps it's in your relationships, practicing patience and listening even when it's easier to interrupt or argue. The key is to start small. Identify one area where you'd like to exercise more control and commit to making one intentional choice each day. Self-discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself even when it's hard and building the kind of character that can weather life's storms with grace. Because when you master your impulses, you're no longer a slave to them. You're free to live a life of purpose, alignment, and virtue. And that's the Stoic way to turn discipline into liberation. How do you handle criticism? It's a question that can make even the most confident among us pause. For many, feedback, whether constructive or harsh, feels like a personal attack, a blow to our ego. But the Stoics saw it differently. To them, criticism wasn't something to fear or resent. It was an opportunity for growth. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, captured this mindset when he said, "The wise man is neither raised up by prosperity nor cast down by adversity." In other words, a Stoic doesn't let praise inflate their ego or criticism crush their spirit. Instead, they see both as tools for self-improvement. Let's break this down with a modern example. Imagine you've just presented a project at work and a colleague points out a flaw in your approach. Your first instinct might be to feel defensive or embarrassed. But what if, instead of reacting emotionally, you paused and asked yourself, what can I learn from this? Is there truth in their feedback? This shift in perspective doesn't just diffuse the tension, it transforms criticism from a threat into a gift. It's a chance to refine your skills, to see blind spots you might have missed, and to grow stronger in your craft. The key to handling criticism gracefully lies in detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring about your work or your reputation. It means you stop equating your worth with the opinions of others. When you detach from the need for approval, you free yourself to see feedback for what it is, information. Some of it will be useful, some of it won't, but the act of listening, reflecting, and deciding for yourself what to take away is where the real growth happens. So, how can you start applying this Stoic principle in your own life? Next time you receive criticism, whether it's from a boss, a friend, or even a stranger online, take a deep breath. Resist the urge to react defensively or dismissively. Instead, ask yourself, what's the intention behind this feedback? Is there something here that can help me improve? Even if the delivery feels harsh, there's often a kernel of truth worth considering. By responding with curiosity rather than defensiveness, you not only preserve your peace of mind, but also open the door to becoming better at what you do. Criticism, when approached with a Stoic mindset, becomes less about judgment and more about evolution. It's not about proving yourself right, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. And that's the power of Rule 16, to see every critique not as an attack but as an invitation to grow. Equanimity is the Stoic superpower. It's the ability to remain calm and balanced no matter what life throws at you. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, this kind of steady presence can feel almost otherworldly. But the Stoics believed it wasn't just possible, it was essential. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, put it simply, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." His words remind us that while we can't control the chaos around us, we can control how we respond to it. Equanimity isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about finding an inner stillness that allows you to navigate life's storms with clarity and grace. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a boat on a turbulent sea. The waves are crashing, the wind is howling, and the rain is relentless. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you steer the boat. Equanimity is that steady hand on the wheel, guiding you through the chaos without panic or despair. It's what allows you to stay focused, to make wise decisions, and to keep moving forward, even when the waters are rough. One practical way to cultivate this superpower is through deep breathing. When stress hits, our bodies often go into fight or flight mode. Our heart races, our muscles tense, and our thoughts spiral. But by taking a few slow, deliberate breaths, we can signal to our nervous system that it's safe to relax. This simple act doesn't just calm the body, it also clears the mind, creating space for thoughtful, intentional action. Next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Inhale deeply for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and exhale for 4 counts. Repeat this cycle a few times and notice how it shifts your perspective. It's a small but powerful tool for regaining your balance in moments of stress. But equanimity isn't just for moments of crisis. It's also a mindset we can build over time. Reflect on your own life. Where do you tend to lose your calm? Is it in traffic, during disagreements, or when facing uncertainty? Once you've identified these triggers, ask yourself, how can I approach these situations with more patience and presence? Maybe it's by reminding yourself that you can't control the other drivers, but you can control your reaction. Maybe it's by choosing to listen more and argue less. Or maybe it's by embracing uncertainty as an opportunity for growth rather than a source of anxiety. Equanimity doesn't mean you stop caring or feeling. It means you stop letting those feelings control you. It's about finding a center of calm within yourself, a place you can return to no matter what's happening around you. And when you do, you'll discover that you're not just surviving life's challenges, you're thriving through them. That's the power of equanimity. It's not just a skill, it's a way of living one breath at a time. Stoicism teaches us to see ourselves in others. At first glance, this might seem surprising. After all, isn't Stoicism about mastering your own mind and emotions? But the Stoics understood that true wisdom isn't just about self-control. It's also about recognizing our shared humanity. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential voices, put it this way: what upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things. His words remind us that everyone is shaped by their own perceptions, experiences, and struggles. When we take the time to understand those perspectives, we open the door to empathy, a powerful tool for connection and growth. Think about a time when you've been in conflict with someone. Maybe it was a disagreement with a coworker, a misunderstanding with a loved one, or even a heated exchange with a stranger. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to focus on your own feelings, your own perspective. But what if, instead of reacting defensively, you pause to consider the other person's point of view? What might they be feeling? What experiences or fears could be shaping their actions? This shift in focus doesn't just diffuse tension, it also creates space for understanding and resolution. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're having a difficult conversation with a friend who's been distant lately. Instead of jumping to conclusions or taking their behavior personally, you take a moment to empathize. Maybe they're dealing with stress at work, struggling with a personal loss, or simply feeling overwhelmed. By approaching the situation with compassion rather than judgment, you're not just improving the relationship, you're also embodying a core Stoic principle, the idea that we're all connected, all shaped by our own battles and burdens. So, how can you start practicing empathy in your daily life? Begin by reflecting on your interactions. Are there moments when you could pause to consider the other person's perspective? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be as simple as listening more deeply, asking thoughtful questions, or offering a kind word when someone seems upset. These small acts of empathy can have a ripple effect, fostering deeper connections and creating a more compassionate world. Empathy isn't just about understanding others, it's also about recognizing the shared humanity that binds us all. When we practice it, we're not just improving our relationships, we're also strengthening our own character. Because in the end, seeing ourselves in others isn't just a Stoic ideal, it's a way to live with greater kindness, wisdom, and purpose. And that's a rule worth embracing. What if complaining only amplifies your suffering? It's a question worth sitting with, because so often our instinct when things go wrong is to vent, to protest, to resist. But the Stoics had a different approach. They believed that complaining doesn't change the situation, it only deepens our pain. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. In other words, the stories we tell ourselves about our struggles often hurt more than the struggles themselves. When we complain, we're not just reacting to the problem, we're adding layers of frustration, anger, and helplessness that make it harder to move forward. Think about a common modern scenario. You're at the airport and your flight gets delayed. You can't control the weather, the airline's decisions, or the mechanical issues that caused the delay. But you can control how you respond. Do you spend the next few hours venting to anyone who will listen, scrolling through social media to air your grievances, or fuming silently as your stress levels rise? Or do you take a deep breath, accept the situation, and use the time to read, catch up on work, or even strike up a conversation with a fellow traveler? The Stoic approach isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that complaining won't change the facts. It only drains your energy and magnifies your discomfort. This principle applies to far more than travel delays. Consider a challenging day at work. Maybe a project isn't going as planned, or a colleague isn't pulling their weight. It's easy to fall into the trap of complaining, to yourself, to others, or even just in your head. But what if, instead of focusing on what's going wrong, you shifted your attention to what you can do to improve the situation? Maybe you can adjust your approach, seek advice from a mentor, or simply take a moment to regroup and refocus. By redirecting your energy from complaining to problem solving, you're not just reducing your stress, you're actively working toward a solution. So how can you start reducing the habit of complaining in your own life? Begin by noticing when you're tempted to vent. Is it during moments of frustration, inconvenience, or disappointment? Once you've identified those triggers, ask yourself, what's the real issue here? Is there something I can do to address it, or is this a situation I need to accept? If it's the latter, try reframing your thoughts. Instead of focusing on what's going wrong, look for what you can learn or appreciate in the moment. Maybe the delay gives you time to rest. Maybe the challenging project pushes you to grow. Maybe the difficult colleague teaches you patience. Complaining might feel like a release in the moment, but it rarely leads to lasting relief. What does bring relief is acceptance, the ability to meet life's challenges with calm and clarity, knowing that your response is what truly matters. And when you let go of the habit of complaining, you free yourself to focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, and your ability to thrive, no matter the circumstances. That's the Stoic way to turn frustration into freedom, one moment of acceptance at a time. Stoicism values effort over innate ability. This might sound counterintuitive in a world that often celebrates natural talent, but the Stoics believe that true mastery and virtue come from consistent practice and dedication. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most celebrated figures, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the challenges we face aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities to grow, to push ourselves, and to prove our commitment to the things we care about. Take the example of learning a new skill. Maybe it's playing an instrument, mastering a language, or even developing a new professional competency. When you first start, it's easy to feel discouraged by how much there is to learn. You might compare yourself to others who seem to pick it up effortlessly, or you might doubt whether you have the natural talent to succeed. But here's the truth. Talent might give someone a head start, but it's effort that determines how far you go. The hours you put in, the mistakes you learn from, and the resilience you build along the way, that's what transforms a beginner into a master. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that effort was a form of virtue, a way of aligning your actions with your values. When you commit to practicing something consistently, you're not just improving your skills, you're also strengthening your character. You're proving to yourself that you can persevere, that you can rise above challenges, and that you can create something meaningful through sheer determination. So, what does this look like in practice? Let's say you're trying to improve your public speaking. Instead of worrying about whether you're naturally charismatic or articulate, focus on the effort. Practice your delivery, seek feedback, and embrace every opportunity to speak, even when it feels uncomfortable. Over time, you'll notice that your confidence grows, not because you were born with a gift, but because you showed up and put in the work. Now take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you prioritizing talent over effort? Are there areas where you've been holding back because you don't feel good enough or naturally skilled? What if, instead of waiting for the perfect moment or the right conditions, you simply started? What if you committed to showing up day after day and trusting that effort itself is the path to mastery? Remember, it's not about being the best right away. It's about becoming better one small step at a time, and that's the Stoic way to turn effort into excellence. Humility is the mark of a true Stoic. It's not about diminishing yourself or downplaying your achievement. It's about recognizing that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, put it bluntly, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." In other words, the moment you believe you've figured it all out is the moment you stop growing. Humility keeps you open, curious, and teachable, even in the face of success or expertise. Think about the last time you were certain you were right, only to realize you'd overlooked something crucial. Maybe it was in a conversation with a colleague, a decision at work, or even a personal relationship. That moment of realization, when you're forced to admit you don't have all the answers, can be uncomfortable. But it's also where growth happens. Humility isn't about admitting defeat, it's about embracing the possibility that someone else might have a perspective, a skill, or an insight that can help you improve. Consider the practice of seeking mentorship. Imagine you're an experienced professional at the top of your field. It's easy to assume you've learned everything there is to know. But what if you took a step back and asked for guidance from someone with a different background or a fresh perspective? That act of humility, of acknowledging that you still have room to grow, can lead to breakthroughs you might never have achieved on your own. It's not about doubting your abilities, it's about expanding them. So, how can you start practicing humility in your own life? Begin by reflecting on areas where you might be resistant to feedback or reluctant to ask for help. Are there topics you feel overly confident about, or situations where you default to thinking you know best? Challenge yourself to approach those moments with curiosity rather than certainty. Ask questions, listen actively, and be willing to adjust your perspective. Humility isn't about being small, it's about being open to becoming greater. Stoic humility isn't just a trait, it's a practice. It's the willingness to see yourself as a work in progress, to learn from others, and to remain grounded even as you achieve success. Because in the end, the more you learn, the more you realize how much there is still to discover. And that's the beauty of humility. It keeps you growing always. What if true wealth is wanting less? It's a question that challenges our modern obsession with accumulation, with the idea that more possessions, more status, more achievements will somehow make us happier. The Stoics, however, had a different perspective. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, poverty isn't about what you lack, it's about the endless desire for more. True wealth, then, comes not from acquiring, but from finding contentment in what you already have. This principle might sound counterintuitive in a world that equates success with material abundance, but think about it. How often do we chase after things, new gadgets, bigger homes, the latest trends, only to find that the happiness they bring is fleeting? The thrill of acquisition fades quickly, leaving us wanting the next thing, the next upgrade, the next milestone. The Stoics believed that this cycle of craving and dissatisfaction is what keeps us trapped in a kind of self-imposed poverty. Real freedom, they argued, comes from breaking that cycle and learning to be content with less. Consider the practice of minimalism, a modern movement that echoes this ancient wisdom. Imagine someone choosing to downsize their possessions, moving from a sprawling house to a smaller, more manageable space. At first, it might feel like a sacrifice, a loss of comfort or status. But over time, they might discover unexpected benefits: less clutter, less stress, and more time and energy to focus on what truly matters. By letting go of excess, they create space not just physically, but mentally and emotionally for greater clarity, creativity, and peace. This is the essence of Stoic simplicity. It's not about depriving yourself, but about freeing yourself from the weight of unnecessary desires. So, how can you start practicing this principle in your own life? Begin by reflecting on what you truly need. Look around your home, your schedule, even your digital life. What are you holding onto out of habit or fear rather than genuine value? What could you let go of to create more space for yourself, for your relationships, for the things that bring you joy? It doesn't have to be a dramatic overhaul. Even small changes, clearing out a drawer, canceling a subscription you don't use, or setting boundaries around your time, can have a big impact. Contentment with less isn't about settling or resigning yourself to scarcity. It's about recognizing that abundance isn't found in things. It's found in the freedom to live with intention and purpose. When you stop chasing after more, you give yourself the gift of enough. And that's the Stoic way to discover true wealth, not by accumulating but by appreciating. Patience is the companion of wisdom. It's a virtue that doesn't always come naturally, especially in a world that values speed and instant results. But the Stoics understood that true strength lies in the ability to endure delays, setbacks, and uncertainty with calm and perseverance. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." His words remind us that while we can't control the pace of life or the timing of outcomes, we can control how we respond to the waiting. Patience, in this sense, isn't passive, it's an active choice to remain steady, even when the path ahead feels slow or unclear. Think about a time when you've waited for something important, a job offer, a test result, or the resolution of a personal challenge. The uncertainty can feel unbearable, and the temptation to rush or force an outcome can be overwhelming. But what if, instead of resisting the wait, you embraced it as an opportunity to practice patience? What if you saw it as a chance to strengthen your ability to stay calm and focused, even in the face of uncertainty? This shift in mindset doesn't just make the waiting easier, it also prepares you to handle whatever comes next with greater resilience and grace. Consider a practical example: waiting for feedback on a project at work. You've put in the effort, done your best, and now you're left in limbo until the results come in. It's easy to obsess over the outcome, to check your inbox constantly, or to imagine worst-case scenarios. But what if, instead of fixating on what you can't control, you focused on what you can? Maybe you use the time to refine your skills, to reflect on what you've learned, or even to take a well-deserved break. By redirecting your energy from worry to productive action, you're not just practicing patience, you're building a mindset that can weather any storm. So, how can you start cultivating this kind of patience in your own life? Begin by reflecting on areas where waiting feels particularly challenging. Is it in your career, your relationships, or your personal goals? Once you've identified those moments, ask yourself, what can I do to shift my focus from the outcome to the process? Perhaps it's setting smaller, more manageable goals to keep yourself engaged. Or maybe it's finding ways to stay present, like mindfulness exercises or journaling, to anchor yourself in the moment rather than racing ahead. Patience isn't about ignoring your desires or resigning yourself to delay. It's about trusting the process, knowing that growth often happens in the waiting. When you embrace this mindset, you're not just enduring the pause, you're transforming it into a space for reflection, preparation, and inner strength. And that's the Stoic way to turn waiting into wisdom. Envy is the thief of joy. It's a bold statement, but one that cuts to the heart of one of the most common struggles in modern life: comparison. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that envy doesn't just steal our happiness, it distracts us from our own path, pulling our focus away from what truly matters. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to teach Stoic wisdom, put it plainly: "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." In other words, envy is a bottomless pit. No matter how much you achieve or acquire, there will always be someone with more success, more wealth, more admiration. And if you let envy take hold, you'll never feel truly satisfied. Think about the way social media amplifies this struggle. Scrolling through carefully curated feeds, it's easy to feel like everyone else has it all together: perfect careers, perfect relationships, perfect lives. But here's the truth: what you're seeing is a highlight reel, not the full story. Comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's best moments is a recipe for discontent. The Stoic approach isn't about ignoring others' achievements or pretending they don't exist. It's about redirecting your focus inward to your own journey, your own values, and your own growth. Consider this practical shift. Instead of envying someone else's success, ask yourself what you can learn from them. Maybe they've mastered a skill you're still developing, or they've built habits that lead to their achievements. By focusing on what you can take away rather than what you lack, you transform envy into inspiration. It's not about competing with others, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. So, how can you start overcoming envy in your own life? Begin by reflecting on what triggers it. Is it a particular person, a certain platform, or even a specific aspect of your life where you feel you're falling short? Once you've identified those triggers, take a step back. Remind yourself of what you've accomplished, what you're working toward, and what truly matters to you. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to envy. By focusing on what you have rather than what you don't, you reclaim your sense of fulfillment and redirect your energy toward what you can control. Envy doesn't have to be a permanent state. When approached with a Stoic mindset, it becomes an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. It's a reminder to stay focused on your own path, to celebrate your progress, and to let go of the need to measure up to anyone else. Because in the end, the only person you need to compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday, and that's how you turn envy into empowerment. What does it mean to be truly courageous? It's not about grand gestures or heroic acts in the spotlight. It's about the quiet, steady resolve to face challenges with integrity, even when it's easier to look away. The Stoics saw courage as one of the 4 cardinal virtues, a quality that wasn't just about physical bravery but about moral strength. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, captured this idea when he said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." In a world full of uncertainty, pain, and hardship, simply showing up and persevering can be its own kind of heroism. Think about the modern challenges we face. Courage might look like standing up for your beliefs in a meeting, even when your voice shakes. It could be choosing honesty in a situation where lies would be easier, or deciding to walk away from something toxic, even when it feels like the safer option. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act despite it. It's about doing what's right, not what's easy, and staying true to your values even when the stakes are high. Consider this example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague is being unfairly treated or excluded. Speaking up might feel risky. What if it puts you in an uncomfortable position? What if it changes how others see you? But courage is what pushes you to step forward, to advocate for fairness, even when it's uncomfortable. It's not about being fearless, it's about prioritizing integrity over comfort. So, how can you start practicing courage in your own life? Begin by reflecting on moments where you've hesitated to act because of fear or uncertainty. What held you back? What would it look like to face that situation with courage? Maybe it's having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, or taking a risk on a dream you've been putting off. Courage doesn't always feel good in the moment. It often feels vulnerable, even terrifying, but it's in those moments that growth happens. Courage, in the Stoic sense, isn't about seeking out danger or proving yourself to others. It's about showing up for what matters, even when it's hard. It's about trusting that the discomfort of acting with integrity is worth the peace of knowing you stayed true to yourself. And when you do, you'll find that courage isn't just a virtue, it's a practice, one that builds strength and character with every step you take. Desires can quietly take control of our lives if we're not careful. They pull us in endless directions, promising happiness but often leaving us feeling emptier than before. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that unchecked desires could enslave us, chaining us to an endless cycle of wanting more. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, put it beautifully when he said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, what we focus on, what we crave, what we chase shapes who we become. If we let our desires run wild, they can color our minds with restlessness, dissatisfaction, and dependency. But if we learn to examine and moderate them, we can reclaim our inner freedom. Think about the way desires often work in modern life. You might see a new gadget, a trendy piece of clothing, or even a lifestyle on social media that seems irresistible. The more you think about it, the more you convince yourself you need it. But once you have it, the satisfaction is fleeting. Soon, you're onto the next thing, the next want, the next chase. This cycle isn't just exhausting, it's a distraction from what truly matters. The Stoic approach isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about understanding the difference between what you truly need and what you merely want. It's about making conscious choices rather than being driven by impulse. One practical way to practice this is by pausing before making unnecessary purchases. The next time you're tempted to buy something, ask yourself, is this adding real value to my life, or am I chasing a temporary high? This simple moment of reflection can help you break free from the grip of consumerism and align your spending with your values. It's not about living with less for the sake of less. It's about living with intention, ensuring that your desires serve you rather than the other way around. Now take a moment to reflect. What desires are shaping your thoughts and actions? Are there areas of your life where you feel controlled by cravings, whether for material things, validation, or even comfort? What would it look like to step back and examine those desires to see them for what they truly are? By doing so, you're not just managing your wants, you're cultivating a deeper sense of self-awareness and freedom. And that's the Stoic way to live, not as a slave to your desires, but as the master of your own mind. Forgiveness is a gift to yourself. It's not about excusing harmful behavior or pretending the hurt never happened. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that holding onto anger or grudges only chains you to the past, keeping you from moving forward with clarity and peace. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to teach Stoic wisdom, put it bluntly, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. His words remind us that when we cling to resentment, we're allowing someone else's actions to control our emotions and dictate our inner state. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is an act of reclaiming your power. Imagine this scenario. A close friend says something hurtful during a heated argument. You feel betrayed, angry, and maybe even tempted to cut them out of your life. But as the days pass, the anger starts to weigh on you. It distracts you, saps your energy, and keeps you stuck in a loop of replaying the conflict. The Stoic approach isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending the hurt doesn't matter. It's about choosing to let go, not for the other person's sake, but for your own. By forgiving, you're not saying what happened was okay. You're saying you refuse to let it control your peace any longer. Consider the act of reconciliation. Reaching out to that friend, having an honest conversation, and finding a way to move forward can be incredibly freeing. It doesn't mean you forget the hurt or ignore the need for boundaries. It means you're choosing to prioritize your own well-being over the need to hold onto anger. Forgiveness isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, a decision you make again and again to release the grip of resentment and reclaim your inner calm. Now take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you holding onto resentment? Is it toward a family member, a colleague, or even yourself? What would it feel like to let that go, even just a little? Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation or forgetting. It can simply mean deciding not to carry the burden of anger any longer. When you do, you're not just freeing yourself from the past, you're creating space for peace, growth, and a deeper sense of freedom. And that's the Stoic way to turn pain into power, one act of forgiveness at a time. How do you handle change? It's a question that can reveal a lot about how we approach life's twists and turns. For the Stoics, adaptability wasn't just a skill, it was a necessity. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, captured this idea when he said, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling." In other words, life is full of uncertainties, and resisting them only makes the journey harder. But when we embrace change with an open mind, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life, turning obstacles into opportunities. Think about a modern scenario. You've just started a new job. The environment is unfamiliar, the expectations are high, and you're suddenly faced with tasks and challenges you've never encountered before. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to cling to old habits or wish things were easier. But what if, instead of resisting, you leaned into the discomfort? What if you saw this new role as a chance to learn, to grow, and to stretch beyond your comfort zone? That's the essence of adaptability. It's not about pretending everything is easy. It's about finding strength in flexibility, knowing that every challenge is a chance to evolve. Adaptability doesn't mean abandoning your values or compromising your integrity. It's about being open to new perspectives, adjusting your approach when necessary, and staying grounded in your principles even as circumstances shift. Consider a tree in a storm. The rigid branches break, but the flexible ones bend and survive. The same is true for us. When we're willing to adapt, we're not just surviving change, we're thriving through it. So, how can you start cultivating this kind of adaptability in your own life? Begin by reflecting on areas where you tend to resist change. Is it in your career, your relationships, or even your daily routines? Once you've identified those moments, challenge yourself to approach them with curiosity rather than fear. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? By shifting your mindset from resistance to openness, you're not just making change easier to handle, you're turning it into a powerful tool for growth. Adaptability is more than a survival skill. It's a way of living with grace and resilience. When you embrace it, you're not just navigating life's uncertainties, you're transforming them into stepping stones for a richer, more fulfilling journey. And that's the Stoic way to thrive, no matter what comes your way. Generosity enriches the giver as much as the receiver, a truth the Stoics understood deeply. They saw giving not as a transaction, but as a practice of virtue, a way to align ourselves with the interconnectedness of humanity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." His words remind us that every act of kindness, no matter how small, ripples outward, shaping not only the lives of others but also our own character. Generosity, in the Stoic sense, isn't about grand gestures or seeking recognition. It's about giving freely without expecting anything in return and finding fulfillment in the act itself. Think about the last time you offered help to someone, whether it was holding the door for a stranger, lending a listening ear to a friend, or donating to a cause you care about. In that moment, you weren't just making their day a little easier, you are also reinforcing your own sense of purpose and connection. The Stoics believed that generosity is a form of self-improvement, a way to cultivate compassion and remind ourselves of what truly matters. It's not about what you give, but the spirit in which you give it. When you give without attachment to outcomes, you free yourself from the need for validation or reward, and instead you tap into a deeper, more enduring kind of joy. One practical way to practice this virtue is through volunteering. Whether it's serving meals at a local shelter, mentoring someone in your field, or simply spending time with those who feel isolated, volunteering allows you to give your time and energy in a way that directly impacts others. But the benefits aren't one-sided. Studies show that acts of generosity can boost your own well-being, reducing stress and increasing feelings of happiness and fulfillment. It's a reminder that giving isn't just about helping others, it's about enriching your own life in the process. Now, take a moment to reflect. How can you practice generosity in your own life? It doesn't have to involve money or grand gestures. Maybe it's offering a kind word to a colleague who's having a tough day, or sharing your skills with someone who could benefit from your knowledge. Perhaps it's simply being present for someone who needs to be heard. The key is to give with an open heart without expecting anything in return. When you do, you'll find that generosity isn't just a virtue, it's a pathway to a richer, more meaningful life. And that's the Stoic way to give, not as an obligation, but as an opportunity to grow, to connect, and to leave a lasting echo in the world. Self-deception is the enemy of growth. It's a bold statement, but one that strikes at the heart of why so many of us struggle to move forward. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that true progress begins not with outward achievements, but with an honest, unflinching look inward. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to teach Stoic wisdom, put it plainly: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. His words remind us that growth starts with self-awareness, with the courage to see ourselves as we truly are, flaws and all. Think about the ways we often deceive ourselves. Maybe it's telling ourselves we'll start that project tomorrow, even though we've been saying that for weeks. Or perhaps it's convincing ourselves we're too busy to exercise while spending hours scrolling through social media. These small acts of self-deception might feel harmless, but over time they add up. They keep us stuck in patterns of avoidance and denial, preventing us from reaching our full potential. The Stoic practice of self-awareness isn't about self-criticism, it's about clarity. It's about seeing the gap between who we are and who we want to be, and then taking deliberate steps to close it. Consider this example. Imagine you've been struggling with procrastination. You know it's holding you back, but you keep telling yourself you work better under pressure. The truth is, you're avoiding the discomfort of starting. A Stoic approach would involve acknowledging this truth, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. It's not about beating yourself up, it's about recognizing the behavior so you can address it. Once you've honestly assessed the issue, you can take action, whether it's breaking tasks into smaller steps, setting clearer deadlines, or seeking accountability from a friend. The key is to start with honesty. Without it, no amount of effort will lead to meaningful change. So, how can you begin practicing this kind of self-honesty? Start by reflecting on areas of your life where you might be deceiving yourself. Are there habits you've been ignoring, goals you've been putting off, or truths you've been avoiding? Take a moment to write them down. Be gentle but firm with yourself. Remember, this isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Once you've identified these areas, ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today to move closer to the person I want to be? It could be as simple as admitting a mistake, setting a realistic goal, or asking for help. Being honest with yourself isn't always easy, but it's the foundation of growth. It's what allows you to break free from self-imposed limitations and step into your potential. When you face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, you unlock the power to transform it. And that's the Stoic way to live, not by hiding from reality, but by embracing it one honest step at a time. What if balance is the key to a fulfilling life? The Stoics certainly thought so. They saw moderation not as a restriction, but as a pathway to freedom, a way to live with intention and avoid the pitfalls of excess. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, captured this idea perfectly when he said, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." His words remind us that a life well lived isn't about chasing extremes, it's about finding harmony in the middle ground. Whether it's in how we spend our time, what we consume, or how we pursue our goals, moderation allows us to enjoy life without being consumed by it. Take the modern struggle of balancing work and leisure. Many of us swing between two extremes, either overcommitting to our jobs, burning out in the process, or indulging in endless leisure, only to feel unfulfilled and directionless. The Stoic approach isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about creating a rhythm that honors both. Imagine setting clear boundaries for your workday, ensuring you have time to recharge and connect with loved ones while still making meaningful progress toward your goals. This isn't just about productivity, it's about creating a life that feels full and purposeful, not fragmented or overwhelming. But moderation isn't just about time management. It's also about how we engage with our desires and impulses. Think about something as simple as food. Indulging in every craving might bring momentary pleasure, but over time, it can lead to discomfort and regret. On the other hand, depriving yourself entirely can feel restrictive and joyless. The Stoic virtue of temperance, often translated as moderation, encourages us to find the middle path. It's about savoring the pleasures of life without letting them control us, and making choices that align with our long-term well-being rather than short-term gratification. So, how can you start practicing moderation in your own life? Begin by reflecting on areas where you might be leaning too far in one direction. Are there habits or routines that feel out of balance? Maybe it's in how you approach exercise, relationships, or even screen time. Once you've identified those areas, ask yourself, what would a more balanced approach look like? It doesn't have to be a drastic change. It could be as simple as setting aside dedicated time for rest or being more mindful about how you spend your evenings. Small, intentional shifts can create a ripple effect, helping you build a life that's both enjoyable and sustainable. Moderation isn't about perfection or deprivation, it's about alignment. It's about creating space for what truly matters so you can thrive without being pulled in too many directions. When you embrace this principle, you're not just living better, you're living with greater clarity, purpose, and peace. And that's the Stoic way to find balance in a world that often pushes us to extremes. Challenges are the forge of character. This isn't just a poetic idea, it's a fundamental Stoic truth. The Stoics believed that hardship isn't something to avoid or resent. It's something to embrace because it's through struggle that we grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic thinkers, captured this mindset perfectly when he wrote, "The obstacle is the way." His words remind us that difficulties aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. They're not something to overcome, they're something to use. Every challenge, no matter how daunting, carries within it the seeds of growth and transformation. Think about a time when you faced a significant challenge. Maybe it was a tough project at work, a personal loss, or even a failure that felt crushing in the moment. At first, it might have seemed like nothing more than a setback, but looking back, you can probably see how that experience shaped you. Perhaps it taught you patience, resilience, or a new skill. Maybe it revealed strength you didn't know you had or deepened your understanding of what truly matters. The Stoics would argue that this is the purpose of challenges, to reveal our potential, to test our character, and to push us toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Consider a practical example. Imagine you're tasked with leading a difficult project at work. The scope is overwhelming, the deadlines are tight, and the team is under pressure. It's easy to feel stressed or even resentful in this situation. But what if, instead of seeing it as a burden, you viewed it as an opportunity? What if you approached it with curiosity, asking yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow as a leader? How can this challenge make me better? By shifting your mindset, you're not just making the task easier, you're turning it into a tool for personal development. Now take a moment to reflect. What challenges are you facing right now? Are there areas of your life where you're tempted to complain or feel defeated? What might happen if you reframed those struggles as opportunities? It doesn't mean you have to enjoy the difficulty, it means you can choose to find value in it. Maybe a tough conversation helps you improve your communication skills. Maybe a professional setback pushes you to explore new paths. Maybe a personal loss deepens your empathy and gratitude. The Stoic practice of gratitude for challenges isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that even in hardship, there's something to be gained. It's about trusting that the struggle itself is what shapes you, what strengthens you, and what prepares you for whatever comes next. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember, it's not just an obstacle, it's an invitation to grow. And when you embrace it, you're not just surviving the storm, you're becoming the kind of person who can thrive in any weather. That's the power of gratitude, even for the hardest moments. Silence is a powerful teacher. In a world that often values noise, constant chatter, endless opinions, and relentless self-expression, the Stoics saw silence as a source of strength and wisdom. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of Stoicism's most influential voices, put it simply, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." His words remind us that true understanding comes not from dominating conversations, but from observing, listening, and reflecting. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's an active practice, a way to deepen our connection to the world and to ourselves. Think about a conversation where you felt truly heard. Chances are the person you were speaking with wasn't just waiting for their turn to talk. They were fully present, listening with intention and curiosity. That kind of presence is rare, but it's also transformative. When we practice silence, we're not just giving others the space to express themselves, we're also creating the opportunity to learn, to empathize, and to respond with greater thoughtfulness. It's a skill that takes practice, but the rewards are profound. Consider this example: you're in a heated discussion with a colleague. Emotions are running high, and the temptation to interrupt, defend, or dominate is strong. But what if, instead of reacting, you chose to listen? What if you allowed the silence to settle, even for just a moment before responding? This small act of restraint can shift the entire dynamic of the conversation. It gives you time to process, to understand, and to respond with clarity rather than impulsivity. Silence, in this sense, isn't passive. It's a deliberate choice to prioritize understanding over ego. But silence isn't just about improving conversations. It's also a tool for self-reflection. In the quiet moments when we step away from the noise of daily life, we create space to hear our own thoughts, to untangle our emotions, and to align our actions with our values. Imagine starting your day with just 5 minutes of silence. No phone, no distractions, just you and your breath. It's a simple practice, but one that can ground you, calm your mind, and set the tone for the hours ahead. So, how can you start incorporating this Stoic principle into your own life? Begin by reflecting on your daily interactions. Are there moments where you could listen more and speak less? Could you carve out a few minutes each day for quiet reflection? Even small changes like pausing before responding in a conversation or taking a mindful walk without headphones can help you cultivate the power of silence. Silence isn't about withdrawing or disengaging. It's about creating the space to connect with others, with yourself, and with the world around you. When you practice it, you're not just becoming a better listener, you're becoming a more thoughtful, intentional, and grounded person. And that's the Stoic way to turn silence into strength. How do you spend your most precious resource, time? It's a question that cuts to the heart of how we live our lives. The Stoics understood that time is the one thing we can never get back. Seneca, one of the most eloquent voices of Stoicism, put it bluntly: it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. His words remind us that life isn't inherently short. It's often made shorter by how we choose to use it. Every moment is a gift, and how we spend it determines not just the quality of our days, but the depth of our legacy. Imagine this, you're scrolling through social media, clicking from one video to the next, losing track of the hours. At the end of the day, you feel a vague sense of emptiness, like you've been busy but accomplished nothing. This isn't just a modern struggle, it's a timeless one. The Stoics believed that wasting time wasn't just a bad habit, it was a moral failing. Time, after all, is the one resource we can't replenish. Once it's gone forever. That's why they urged us to use it with intention, to invest it in what truly matters. Consider a modern example, two friends with the same amount of free time. One spends their evenings binge watching TV, while the other uses that time to learn a new skill, connect with loved ones, or work on a passion project. Over months or years, the difference in their lives becomes stark. It's not about being productive every second, it's about aligning your time with your values. The Stoics weren't against rest or leisure, they were against mindless distraction, the kind that leaves us feeling hollow and unfulfilled. So how can you start being more mindful of your time? Begin by reflecting on how you currently spend it. Are there areas where you feel like you're drifting rather than choosing? Maybe it's in how you spend your mornings, your evenings, or even the small pockets of time between tasks. Once you've identified those moments, ask yourself, what would it look like to use them more intentionally? Could you replace a habit of scrolling with a habit of reading, or swap passive entertainment for something that energizes or inspires you? Time is the great equalizer. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. What sets us apart is how we choose to use them. By being mindful of your time, you're not just managing your days better, you're shaping the life you want to live. And that's the Stoic way to turn fleeting moments into a lasting legacy. Kindness is the mark of a strong soul. It's not a sign of weakness or naivety, as some might assume. It's a deliberate choice, a reflection of inner strength and clarity. The Stoics, often seen as stern and unyielding, placed immense value on compassion and respect for others. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, captured this beautifully when he said, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." His words remind us that we're all connected, that our actions ripple outward, affecting not just ourselves but the world around us. Kindness, in this sense, isn't just a virtue. It's a responsibility, a way to align ourselves with the greater good. At its core, kindness is about recognizing the humanity in others, even when it's difficult. It's easy to be kind to those who are kind to us or to those we love. But Stoicism challenges us to extend that same compassion to everyone, even those who test our patience or seem undeserving. Why? Because kindness isn't just for the benefit of others, it's for our own growth. When we choose to act with grace and empathy, even in challenging situations, we're not just improving the world, we're refining our own character. Consider this practical example. You're standing in line at a coffee shop, and the person in front of you is struggling to find their wallet, holding up the line. It's easy to feel annoyed, to let frustration take over. But what if instead you offered to pay for their drink? It's a small act, but it shifts the energy of the moment. Suddenly, the situation isn't about inconvenience, it's about connection. The Stoics believed that these small, everyday acts of kindness are where true strength lies. They're not grand gestures, they're quiet, intentional choices that remind us of our shared humanity. So, how can you start practicing this Stoic virtue in your own life? Begin by reflecting on your daily interactions. Are there moments where you could choose kindness over frustration, patience over judgment? Maybe it's holding the door for someone, offering a genuine compliment, or simply listening without interrupting. These actions don't require much effort, but they carry immense power. They remind us that kindness isn't just something we do, it's who we become when we align our actions with our values. Take a moment to think about your own life. Where can you bring more kindness into your day? How can you turn small, ordinary moments into opportunities to connect and uplift? Because in the end, kindness isn't just about helping others, it's about becoming the kind of person who makes the world a little brighter, one act at a time. And that's the Stoic way to live, with a heart strong enough to care and a spirit brave enough to act. Your thoughts shape your reality. It's a simple idea, but one that holds immense power, and the Stoics understood this better than most. They believed that the mind isn't just a passive observer of the world, it's an active participant, constantly shaping how we experience life. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to teach Stoic wisdom, put it this way: men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. In other words, it's not the events themselves that shape our emotions, it's the meaning we assign to them. And that meaning, it's entirely within our control. Think about a time when you've spiraled into negativity. Maybe it was after a stressful day at work or a disagreement with a loved one. Your thoughts might have started racing, focusing on everything that went wrong, everything that could go wrong, and everything you wish had gone differently. In those moments, it's easy to feel like you're at the mercy of your emotions. But here's the truth: you're not. Your thoughts are like the rudder of a ship. They steer the direction of your emotional state. And while you can't control every thought that pops into your head, you can choose which ones to focus on, which ones to challenge, and which ones to let go. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Your initial reaction might be frustration, even anger. But what if, instead of fixating on the delay, you reframed the situation? What if you saw it as an opportunity to practice patience, to listen to a podcast you enjoy, or simply to take a few deep breaths and center yourself? This shift in perspective doesn't just change how you feel in the moment, it changes how you experience the situation altogether. That's the power of mindful thinking. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about choosing how you engage with it. So, how can you start practicing this Stoic principle in your own life? Begin by paying attention to your thought patterns. Notice when your mind starts to spiral or fixate on negativity. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me? Is it aligned with my values? If not, challenge it. Replace it with a more constructive perspective. Over time, this simple act of awareness and redirection can transform not just your mindset, but your entire approach to life's challenges. Being mindful of your thoughts isn't about achieving some perfect state of positivity. It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your reality, one thought at a time. When you take control of your inner dialogue, you're not just managing your emotions, you're reclaiming your peace, your power, and your ability to thrive, no matter what life throws your way. What if acceptance is the first step to peace? It's a question that cuts to the heart of one of Stoicism's most transformative practices, embracing reality as it is without resistance. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, captured this idea when he said, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling." His words remind us that life unfolds in ways we can't always control, and our ability to find peace lies not in fighting against what's happened, but in accepting it with grace. This isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to fate. It's about recognizing that acceptance is the foundation for moving forward with clarity and purpose. Imagine this scenario: you've worked tirelessly on a project, pouring your energy and creativity into it, only to see it fail. Maybe the client rejects it, or the results fall short of your expectations. Your first instinct might be to resist the outcome, to blame others, to replay what you could have done differently, or to dwell on the unfairness of it all. But what if, instead of fighting the reality of the situation, you chose to accept it? What if you acknowledged the disappointment, learned from the experience, and used it as a stepping stone for growth? This shift doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms how you engage with it. Acceptance isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about meeting reality head-on so you can respond with intention rather than react with frustration. Consider a modern example: losing a job. It's a situation that can feel devastating, especially if it comes unexpectedly. You might be tempted to resist the reality, to dwell on the unfairness of it, to blame yourself or others, or to spiral into worry about the future. But the Stoic approach invites you to pause and ask, what can I control in this situation? You can't change the fact that the job is gone, but you can control how you respond. You can update your resume, reach out to your network, or take the time to reflect on what you truly want from your career. By accepting the reality of the loss, you free yourself from the weight of resentment and open the door to new possibilities. So, how can you begin practicing acceptance in your own life? Start by reflecting on areas where you're resisting reality. Is it a past mistake you can't let go of? A situation you wish were different? A future outcome you're anxiously trying to control? Once you've identified these moments, ask yourself, what would it feel like to accept this as it is? Not to condone it, but to acknowledge it fully so you can move forward without resistance. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting what you can't control dictate your peace of mind. In the end, acceptance isn't about surrender, it's about empowerment. It's the first step toward reclaiming your power and finding peace, no matter what life throws your way. And when you embrace it, you'll discover that the obstacles you once resisted can become the pathways to your growth. Words have the power to build or destroy. They can inspire, heal, and connect, or they can wound, divide, and leave lasting scars. The Stoics understood this deeply, emphasizing that how we speak is just as important as what we say. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." His words remind us that true virtue isn't found in lofty ideals or debates. It's in the daily practice of aligning our actions and our words with integrity. Think about the last time you were in a heated discussion. Maybe it was with a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger online. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to let emotions take over, to say things we don't mean, or to lash out in frustration. But the Stoics believed that every word we choose is a reflection of our character. It's not just about avoiding harm, it's about using language as a tool for clarity, connection, and understanding. When we speak with intention, we're not just communicating, we're building bridges, fostering trust, and creating space for meaningful dialogue. Consider this practical application. The next time you find yourself in a disagreement, pause before responding. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a moment to think about your words. Are they honest? Are they kind? Are they necessary? This simple act of mindfulness can transform the tone of the conversation, turning a potential conflict into an opportunity for growth. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about expressing them in a way that respects both yourself and the other person. So, how can you start being more mindful of your words? Reflect on the conversations you've had recently. Are there moments where your words might have caused harm, even unintentionally? What could you have said differently? By bringing awareness to your speech, you're not just improving your communication, you're cultivating a deeper sense of responsibility and respect for the impact you have on others. Words are more than just sounds or symbols, they're expressions of who we are and what we value. When we choose them with care, we're not just speaking, we're living out the Stoic ideal of integrity. And in a world where words are often thrown around carelessly, this kind of intentionality becomes a quiet but powerful act of virtue. It's a reminder that every word we utter is a chance to build, to heal, and to connect, one conversation at a time. Gratitude strengthens relationships. This simple truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that appreciating the people in our lives isn't just a nicety, it's a practice that deepens connections and fosters mutual respect. Epictetus, the philosopher who taught us to focus on what we can control, also emphasized the importance of contentment, saying, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." His words remind us that gratitude isn't about waiting for something better. It's about recognizing and valuing what's already here, especially the people who enrich our lives. Think about the last time someone went out of their way to help you, a colleague who stayed late to assist with a project, a friend who listened when you needed to vent, or even a stranger who held the door open with a smile. These small gestures often go unnoticed, but they're the threads that weave the fabric of our relationships. When we take the time to acknowledge them, we're not just saying thank you, we're reinforcing the bond between us. Gratitude, in this sense, isn't just a feeling, it's an action, a way of showing others that they matter. Consider this example. Imagine you're at work and a teammate has just finished a task that took hours of their time. Instead of rushing on to the next thing, you pause, look them in the eye, and genuinely thank them for their effort. It's a small act, but it carries weight. It shows that you see their contribution, that you value their work, and that you're grateful for their presence in your life. This kind of acknowledgement doesn't just make the other person feel appreciated, it also strengthens your own sense of connection and purpose. So, how can you start practicing this kind of gratitude today? Begin by reflecting on the people in your life, family, friends, colleagues, even acquaintances who make a difference, however small. What do they bring to your world? How do they support you, challenge you, or simply make your days a little brighter? Once you've identified these individuals, find ways to express your appreciation. It could be a heartfelt note, a kind word, or even just a moment of presence where you truly listen and engage. The key is to make it genuine, to let them know they're seen and valued. Gratitude isn't just about saying the words, it's about cultivating a mindset of recognition and appreciation. When you practice it consistently, you'll find that your relationships grow stronger, your interactions become more meaningful, and your own sense of fulfillment deepens. Because in the end, gratitude isn't just a gift we give to others, it's a gift we give to ourselves, a reminder of the richness that comes from connection and kindness. And that's the Stoic way to live, not just with gratitude, but with a heart open to the beauty of the people around us. Do your actions align with your values? It's a question that strikes at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that living a virtuous life wasn't just about thinking the right thoughts, it was about doing the right things consistently and intentionally. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, put it this way: "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult." His words remind us that integrity isn't about ease or convenience. It's about courage, about taking deliberate steps to align our actions with what we believe is right, even when it's hard. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're at work and you're faced with a decision that could boost your career but compromise your ethics. Maybe it's cutting corners on a project or staying silent when a colleague is treated unfairly. The easy path might be to prioritize short-term gains, but the Stoic approach challenges you to think bigger. What kind of person do you want to be? What legacy do you want to leave? When you choose integrity over expediency, you're not just making a decision, you're shaping your character. And that's where true strength lies. But aligning actions with values isn't just about big, dramatic choices. It's also about the small, everyday decisions that add up over time. Think about something as simple as how you spend your free time. Are you scrolling mindlessly, or are you engaging in activities that nourish your mind and soul? Are you treating others with respect, even when they're not watching? These moments might seem insignificant, but they're the building blocks of a life well lived. The Stoics called this the practice of prosoch, mindfulness of action. It's about being present and intentional in everything you do so that your actions consistently reflect your highest ideals. So how can you start practicing this principle in your own life? Begin by reflecting on your values. What matters most to you? Is it honesty, compassion, courage, or something else? Once you've identified those core principles, ask yourself, are my actions aligned with them? If not, what small changes can I make to bridge the gap? Maybe it's speaking up when you see injustice, or choosing to spend your time in ways that reflect your priorities. Over time, these small, intentional shifts can create a profound sense of alignment and purpose. Being mindful of your actions isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up day after day and choosing to live with integrity, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Because in the end, it's not just about what you achieve, it's about who you become in the process. And that's the Stoic way to live, not just with intention, but with action. Praise and blame are indifferent to the Stoic. This might sound counterintuitive in a world where validation often feels like the ultimate reward. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed that seeking approval from others was a trap, a way of handing over control of your self-worth to people whose opinions are as fleeting as the wind. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, captured this idea perfectly when he said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." His words remind us of a profound truth. When we chase praise, we're letting others define our value rather than cultivating it within ourselves. Think about the last time you received a compliment. Maybe it felt good in the moment, but how long did that feeling last? And what happens when the praise stops? Do you feel the need to work harder, to prove yourself again, to keep the validation coming? The Stoic practice of detachment isn't about rejecting praise or pretending it doesn't matter. It's about recognizing that praise, like criticism, is external. It's not a true reflection of who you are or what you're capable of. Your worth isn't determined by what others think of you. It's rooted in your own actions, your own principles, and your own growth. Consider this practical shift. Instead of measuring your success by how much applause you receive, focus on your internal standards. Ask yourself, did I act with integrity? Did I give my best effort? Did I stay true to my values? These are the questions that matter because they're the ones you can answer honestly without relying on anyone else's approval. For example, imagine you've just completed a project at work. Instead of waiting for your boss's feedback to determine whether you did a good job, reflect on your own process. Did you approach the task with diligence and care? Did you learn something new along the way? By focusing on these internal metrics, you're not just detaching from praise, you're building a stronger, more grounded sense of self. Now take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you seeking external validation? Is it in your career, your relationships, or even your hobbies? What would it feel like to let go of that need and focus instead on your own standards? Detaching from praise doesn't mean you stop caring about your work or your impact. It means you stop letting others' opinions dictate your self-worth. When you do, you'll find a deeper, more enduring kind of confidence, one that comes from within, not from the fleeting approval of others. And that's the Stoic way to live, not for the applause, but for the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've done your best. Your surroundings shape your mind. It's a powerful idea, one that the Stoics understood deeply. They believed that the spaces we inhabit, whether it's our home, our workspace, or even the company we keep, have a profound impact on our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Epictetus, the philosopher who taught us to focus on what we can control, once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." His words remind us that true richness isn't about accumulating more. It's about creating an environment that fosters clarity, virtue, and peace. Think about your own surroundings for a moment. Is your workspace cluttered with papers and distractions piling up? Does your home feel chaotic, making it hard to relax or focus? The Stoics would argue that these external conditions aren't just minor inconveniences, they're reflections of your inner state. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind, while a calm, organized environment can help you think more clearly and act with greater intention. This isn't about perfection or having a picture-perfect home. It's about creating a space that supports your well-being and aligns with your values. Consider the simple act of decluttering your workspace. When you remove unnecessary items, you're not just tidying up, you're creating room for focus and creativity. Each item you let go of is a small act of letting go of mental clutter too. It's about prioritizing what truly matters and removing what no longer serves you. This practice doesn't just apply to physical spaces, it also extends to the people and habits that fill your life. Are there relationships or routines that drain your energy or pull you away from your goals? By being mindful of your environment, you can make intentional choices to surround yourself with what uplifts and inspires you. So, how can you start improving your environment today? Begin with a small, manageable step. Maybe it's clearing off your desk, organizing a drawer, or setting aside time to reflect on the people and activities that bring you joy. Ask yourself, does this space, this relationship, or this habit support the person I want to be? If not, what changes can I make to create a more supportive environment? Remember, it's not about achieving perfection overnight. It's about making intentional choices that align with your values and help you thrive. Your environment is more than just a backdrop to your life. It's a powerful tool for shaping your mindset and actions. When you take the time to create a space that reflects your highest ideals, you're not just improving your surroundings, you're cultivating a foundation for peace, clarity, and growth. And that's the Stoic way to live mindfully, intentionally, and in harmony with the world around you. How well do you truly know yourself? It's a question that might feel simple at first, but the more you sit with it, the more layers you uncover. The Stoics believed that self-reflection wasn't just a luxury, it was a necessity, a daily practice to ensure alignment with virtue and purpose. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, urged, associate with people who are likely to improve you. But before you can surround yourself with the right influences, you must first understand who you are, what you value, and where you're headed. Self-reflection, in this sense, is the foundation of growth, a way to shine a light on your inner world so you can live with greater clarity and intention. Think about the last time you paused to examine your thoughts, actions, or motivations. For many of us, life moves so quickly that we rarely take the time to look inward. We react to situations, follow routines, and make decisions on autopilot, often without asking why. But the Stoics saw this as a missed opportunity. They believed that regular self-examination, whether through journaling, meditation, or simply quiet contemplation, was essential for living a meaningful life. It's not about dwelling on past mistakes or indulging in self-criticism. It's about understanding your patterns, your strengths, and your blind spots so you can move forward with purpose. Consider modern journaling as an example. Imagine sitting down at the end of each day to write about your experiences, not just what happened, but how you felt, what you learned, and where you might improve. This simple act of reflection can transform the way you approach life. It helps you identify recurring themes, recognize areas for growth, and celebrate progress, no matter how small. Journaling, much like Stoic self-examination, isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. It's a tool for turning the chaos of daily life into clarity, one entry at a time. So, how can you start practicing this Stoic principle in your own life? Begin by setting aside a few minutes each day to reflect. Ask yourself questions like, did I act with integrity today? Did I respond to challenges with patience and wisdom? What could I have done differently? These prompts aren't meant to judge or shame you, they're designed to guide you toward deeper understanding. Over time, this practice can help you align your actions with your values, creating a life that feels not just busy but meaningful. Self-reflection isn't a one-time event. It's a habit, a commitment to knowing yourself and growing into the person you aspire to be. When you make it a regular part of your routine, you'll find that it's not just a practice, it's a path to living with greater authenticity, purpose, and peace. And that's the Stoic way to turn self-awareness into self-mastery. Habits shape your destiny. It's a bold statement, but one the Stoics took seriously. They understood that the small, repeated actions of our daily lives don't just add up, they define who we are. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." His words remind us that our habits aren't just behaviors, they're reflections of our inner world, shaping our character and ultimately our lives. Think about the habits you engage in every day, often without even realizing it. Maybe it's reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, skipping breakfast, or procrastinating on tasks you know are important. These actions might seem small in the moment, but over time, they create patterns that influence your energy, your focus, and even your sense of purpose. The Stoics believed that by being mindful of these habits, by deliberately choosing which ones to cultivate and which ones to break, we could steer our lives toward virtue and fulfillment. Consider the power of a morning routine. Instead of starting your day in a rush, scrolling through notifications or jumping straight into work, what if you began with intention? A Stoic morning might include a few minutes of reflection, a moment of gratitude, or even a short walk to clear your mind. These small acts, when practiced consistently, can set the tone for the entire day, grounding you in clarity and purpose. They're not just habits, they're tools for shaping the person you want to become. But breaking harmful habits is just as important as forming virtuous ones. Think about a habit you'd like to change. Perhaps it's procrastination, negative self-talk, or overindulging in distractions. The Stoic approach isn't about willpower alone, it's about awareness. By noticing the triggers and patterns that lead to these behaviors, you can interrupt the cycle and replace them with actions that align with your values. For example, if you find yourself reaching for your phone when you're stressed, try pausing to take a few deep breaths instead. Over time, these small shifts can lead to profound changes. So how can you start being more mindful of your habits today? Begin by reflecting on your daily routines. Which habits serve you and which ones hold you back? What small changes could you make to align your actions with your highest ideals? Remember, habits aren't formed overnight, but with consistent effort, they can become powerful allies in your journey toward a more intentional and meaningful life. When you take control of your habits, you're not just shaping your days, you're shaping your destiny. Compassion is the bridge to connection. It's the quiet strength that allows us to step outside ourselves, to truly see and feel the experiences of others, and to respond with kindness and understanding. For the Stoics, compassion wasn't just a nice-to-have virtue, it was a cornerstone of living a meaningful life. They believed that by recognizing the shared humanity in everyone, we not only help others but also enrich our own lives. As Epictetus wisely observed, what upsets people is not things themselves but their judgments about things. In other words, when we approach others with compassion, we're not just addressing their struggles, we're helping them see their challenges in a new light, offering a path toward peace and resilience. Imagine this scenario: a close friend is going through a tough time. They've lost their job and the weight of uncertainty is crushing their spirit. Your instinct might be to offer advice to try to fix the problem. But what if instead you simply listened? What if you held space for their pain, acknowledging their feelings without judgment or interruption? This act of presence, of truly being there for someone, is compassion in action. It's not about having all the answers, it's about showing up, offering your support, and reminding them that they're not alone. Compassion doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it's the small, everyday acts that make the biggest difference. It's the warm smile to a stranger, the patience you show when someone cuts you off in traffic, or the willingness to forgive a loved one's mistake. These moments might seem insignificant, but they ripple outward, creating a sense of connection and belonging that transcends individual struggles. The Stoics understood that by practicing compassion, we're not just helping others, we're nurturing our own capacity for empathy, resilience, and inner peace. So, how can you start incorporating more compassion into your daily life? Begin by reflecting on the people around you who might be struggling silently. How can you offer your support even in small ways? Perhaps it's a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply being present when someone needs to be heard. Compassion isn't about solving every problem, it's about showing that you care, that you see them, and that they matter. When you practice compassion, you're not just building bridges to others, you're building a stronger, more connected version of yourself. It's a reminder that we're all in this together, and that even the smallest acts of kindness can create waves of positive change. And that's the Stoic way to live, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. How do you want to be remembered? It's a question that cuts to the core of what it means to live a meaningful life. For the Stoics, legacy wasn't about grand monuments or fleeting fame. It was about the impact of your character, your actions, and the way you lived each day. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult." His words remind us that building a legacy isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or the right conditions. It's about daring to live with purpose and integrity, even when it's hard. Think about the legacy you're creating right now. It's not just about what you achieve or accumulate. It's about how you treat others, how you handle challenges, and the values you embody in your daily life. The Stoics believed that every choice, no matter how small, contributes to the story of who you are and how you'll be remembered. Whether it's a kind word to a stranger, a moment of patience in a difficult situation, or a decision to stand up for what's right, these actions ripple outward, shaping not just your life but the lives of those around you. Consider the modern practice of mentoring. Imagine dedicating time each week to guide someone younger or less experienced in your field. It's not about grand gestures or public recognition. It's about sharing your knowledge, offering support, and helping someone else grow. Over time, this simple act can have a profound impact, not just on the person you're mentoring, but on the broader community. Your legacy, in this case, isn't just about what you've accomplished for yourself. It's about the lives you've touched and the opportunities you've created for others. So, how can you start shaping your legacy today? Begin by reflecting on what matters most to you. What values do you want to embody? What kind of impact do you want to have on the people around you? Once you've identified these priorities, ask yourself, are my actions aligned with them? If not, what small changes can I make to close that gap? Maybe it's offering your time to a cause you care about, or simply being more present and intentional in your everyday interactions. Legacy isn't something you leave behind at the end of your life. It's something you build every day through the choices you make and the way you live. When you approach life with this mindset, you're not just living for the moment, you're creating a story that will inspire and uplift others long after you're gone. And that's the Stoic way to live, not just for yourself, but for the world you'll leave behind. As we come to the end of this journey through the 46 Stoic Rules, it's clear that these principles aren't just philosophical ideas, they're practical tools for thriving in a world full of uncertainty and challenge. Each rule, from mastering the dichotomy of control to embracing impermanence, builds on the others to create a framework for resilience, clarity, and purpose. Together, they remind us that the power to thrive doesn't come from external circumstances, but from how we choose to respond to them. Whether it's accepting what we can't change, finding strength in adversity, or aligning our actions with virtue, these rules offer a roadmap for living with intention and integrity. At the heart of Stoicism lies one simple truth: focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. This isn't about avoiding responsibility or ignoring reality. It's about directing your energy where it matters most. When you shift your attention from external outcomes to your own thoughts, choices, and actions, you reclaim your power. You become the captain of your own ship, navigating life's storms with calm and confidence. And as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. His words capture the essence of Stoic wisdom. True contentment comes not from what happens to us, but from how we choose to see and engage with the world. But Stoicism isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about embracing it. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to grow. It's a chance to practice patience, to build resilience, and to refine your character. The Stoics didn't see obstacles as something to avoid. They saw them as stepping stones, as teachers that reveal our potential and push us toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. When you approach life with this mindset, you transform struggle into strength and uncertainty into possibility. Living virtuously is the ultimate goal of Stoicism. It's not about perfection or external validation. It's about aligning your actions with your values day after day. It's about choosing kindness over judgment, effort over ease, and wisdom over impulse. When you live this way, you're not just improving your own life, you're contributing to a better world. You're showing others what it means to live with integrity, compassion, and courage. So, as you reflect on these 46 Stoic rules, consider how you can apply them in your own life. What areas could you focus on more intentionally? Where could you let go of what's out of your control? How might you embrace challenges as opportunities for growth? The beauty of Stoicism is that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a flexible, adaptable philosophy that meets you where you are and guides you toward where you want to be. Before we close, let's hear from you. How have these Stoic principles resonated with your own experiences? What challenges are you facing, and how might these rules help you navigate them? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your insights and continue this conversation. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and practical tips to help you thrive, no matter what life throws your way. Together, let's build a community of resilience, growth, and purpose. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Here's to living the Stoic way, one thoughtful step at a time.